Okay, welcome to the Ill Communication Podcast, episode number 8. Neil, how are you doing? It's been a while.
It's been a long while. It's been months.
This goddamn pesky
COVID and life, and I think you kind of get out of the way a little bit, and that's why we needed to get back into the swing of things. I actually think it's been 2.5 months.
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, the phones have been ringing off the hook to when's this next episode coming out?
No, be honest. 2 people have mentioned it to us, of which they're friends.
All you need is one. All you need is
that's
one.
That's true. So how do we do this again? I've forgotten. So what do? We always do our recap, don't we? And fitness.
Well, I think and we might struggle to recap 2.5 months, but I guess let's figure out, have we been managing to keep relatively fit and healthy? We've also got the fact check to do, if we can remember what the hell we need to fact check, and then we'll cover a topic.
Which today is?
Well, let's go yoga. Let's go yoga and meditation. That sort of that vibe.
Nice.
I'd quite like to ask the question: why does it get harder to exercise as we move into autumn and winter? Why is that?
Well, here should be the structure for episode 8. We'll quickly recap as quickly as we can in the last few months. We'll go straight into our fact check, and we promise listeners we will be no longer than an hour today, because we keep saying it and we fail to do it every single time. We'll then cover a bit about yoga, which, let's be honest, over the last few months you've become a bit of an expert in. You are now a yogi. And I'll do a bit of meditation, and then we'll answer that question at the end. And then if we don't get much time to talk about that, we'll carry that over to the next episode.
Nice. So see, when you say you're going to cover meditation, are you going to actually just meditate?
Yes. So I will now.
I'll just do a monologue at the end. Yeah.
I'll rejoin you in 20 minutes.
You could do a guided meditation. So cool. Well, so for the last 2.5 months, how has it been? Have you managed to live a normal-ish life during the continuously ever-increasing lockdown restrictions?
I think probably probably normal-ish, right? Because I mean, there's nothing that's normal just now. But I would say probably over the last 2 months we've kind of gone full circle in that we were getting more and more measures relaxed, and we were getting back to some level of normality, and then all of a sudden now, and today's date being 28th of October, it looks like we're about to go back into some varied form of stricter lockdown type measures, which will probably continue for the rest of the year. So exercise-wise, I've been doing okay. I can't remember if the last episode was the one where I broke my rings or not. But anyway, I have broken my rings because I don't close my ring every single day anymore, which is good, which is therapeutic. I would say probably still the same type of thing.
Was that a deliberate thing, because it was stressing you out, or what?
Yeah, I'm sure we talked about this before, and sorry for people that are listening to this because they'll be so bored of the same conversations. But I'm sure that it was like 127 days and it was becoming a stressor for me. So actually, the day I let that happen, it felt horrendous. But actually, it's felt really therapeutic since then. And then what happens most weeks is like I'll do a combination of 2 or 3 runs, bit of weights, try to walk a little bit. But I'm working more, I'm at work more than I was before, so I'm walking less, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. And doing a bit of yoga, trying to be a bit inspired by you and your... Well, yeah, over to you. How many days now of continuous yoga?
That's a good question. It's definitely more than half a year continuously. Wow. Every single day.
So by half a year, would you say like 6 months? Was that
6 months? Yeah.
Like normal people would say? 6 months every single day?
Every single day. So I think on the 10th of it, so it was 10th of April, I started this every single day. So technically 10th of October, that was 6 months.
Wow.
So I mean that's not, that's like, maybe an occasional day it's like 5 minutes. I think that's probably the lowest amount, but it's still doing something. But I'm probably averaging about 10 to 15 minutes doing it. Plus I'm trying to do something else on, not most other days is kind of fallen by the wayside, but I did manage to get out a lot of trail running and mountain biking, and then doing some weight type stuff as well for quite a while. But recently, I think maybe work's been getting a bit busier and the nights are fair drawn in because I quite like to do stuff outside. So that's kind of, I think that's been a bit difficult. But no, I genuinely managing to do something else most days. I want to get back into. I bought some waterproofing sort of running gear stuff, so try and push myself to just go out regardless of the weather.
I actually like running in the rain. Yeah. I think it's the best time to run.
Yeah. I think it's more getting time before I'm too tired, because the best thing really is to do is get up and get out and do something first thing, and then it's done.
Yeah.
And I've got way out of that routine, so that's been a problem. And my diet's appalling.
It's my diet.
So it's intermittent fasting. I'm still doing that. That God knows how long. I should figure out how long I've been doing that for. That's definitely over 2 years. Almost every day, and that I think that helps. But at night time, chocolate crisps, not good.
Yeah, which is that's always been your problem, isn't it? That kind of snacking thing late at night. But you've also done yoga at the top of a Monroe. You need to mention that.
Yeah. Ben Vorlich in the rain. And tell you what, if anyone looked at the Instagram picture of that, it was like the best feeling because it's high up. When I started doing it and just releasing tension of walking for like 2.5 hours before that, it was brilliant. So that's going to be a thing.
Actually,
given we're going to start doing hill walking, and what was it? We're going to try and do 6 a year.
Yep.
6 a year.
And I think it's maybe a reflection on perhaps our age. I think this is a good thing to do, to actually try and discover something different that is good exercise, but maybe not hugely strenuous. But I loved it. I thought it was I loved that day. So we'll start talking about that soon, because we're planning on doing another one in a couple of weeks' time.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean it's surprisingly hard work. Because I figured, hey, I've been doing mountain biking, I've been doing running, doing yoga, easy. See the next day.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. I had to stretch out. I stretched for ages the next day, and that felt good. Something I would never have done before either. We'll get on to talk about yoga, but doing stretching, yoga stuff, it properly sorts you out. Whereas before, I'd have just figured out, hey, I've got a couple of days of pain.
Yeah, but that's because you're using muscle groups that you don't normally use, isn't it? It's and that's a good sign. If you do something new, then that shows you that it's like mixing up. It's
totally
paleo fitness.
Totally. Things
we've talked about before.
Totally.
So I think in general, then probably over the last 2.5 months, we've been kind of keeping going. And
trick is to keep it going as we get into autumn and winter, I think. I've actually bought some kettlebells. So I follow this guy on Instagram at Daring101, who seems to be some sort of kettlebell genius. He sort of twirls them around and catches them and stuff. And I thought, the kettlebells, that would be a good workout routine. And actually, I've got 2 16-kilo ones now, and that's a proper workout.
So what's a kettlebell?
You don't know what?
Is this? Well, I know what it is, I think. But are you using this for exercise, or are you using this as like the guy you talk about that you're following? No, I know. It's but when you're saying he's swinging them about, is he making a tune, or is he just doing exercises with this?
Well, check him out at Daring101 Instagram. No, he's taking 16 or 20 kilograms and he's spinning them up in the air and catching them and putting them behind his head and stuff. And
so it's purely exercise,
properly,
right?
Yeah. I mean, he's fit as.
I'm not on Instagram. Well, I am on it. I just don't ever visit it. Yeah. I should talk about that actually. My social media. Cold turkey.
Yeah, we'll give us a snippet and we could do that in a subsequent podcast.
I was getting annoyed by...
that's enough. Right, so...
I was getting annoyed by Twitter. As you know, I came off Facebook years ago. I was still on Twitter. And I find particularly during the pandemic, and maybe it's a combination of the pandemic and the American election coming up, and just how divided society is, that everyone's so opinionated and thinks they're experts in everything, and this whole kind of woke culture, and it just was actually, I was finding it quite draining on my mental health. And I had 3 weeks off, and for a while I thought I'm never going to go back, and then eventually I thought, nah, I will go back. But it was quite therapeutic. It was, it did make me feel better for a while. So I'll maybe do that periodically when things start to annoy me. And I also watched The Social Dilemma, which I think heavily influenced my decision there. And that was quite interesting to watch.
That's another topic we should cover. Influencing ability or influence ability or what, how you get influenced on social media and other things.
That would be a really good episode, because actually that was the thing I was quite naive to, was that my feed on Twitter would be entirely different to say yours. That it's all targeted in terms of like clickbaits and all that sort of stuff to try and keep me looking at that screen. And actually that's terrifying. Anyway, right, let's go to fact check and be on time.
Fact checker. Forgotten what that looks like. Right, okay, so we've got about, I think, eight or so facts. And did you do your homework?
I did.
Good. Right, so you're going to take the first 4.
Yep, so the first one was about liver cirrhosis and whether Scotland really is, because I had made the claim in the last episode that Scotland was the worst country in the world, or certainly in Europe. I can't actually remember what I said. But I had a quick look into PubMed and different things, and it's actually there's not a huge amount of recent studies, which makes it quite difficult. So there's a lot of studies from about 2013, 2010, where Scotland is definitely the worst in the UK. That is, there's no doubt about that. That's predominantly for alcohol-related liver disease, and that's down to our tendency to like a drink. But when you actually look at liver disease as a whole, there's viral hepatitis that causes it. There's fatty liver disease. It's a range of different diseases, so it's not just that alcohol-related factor, which is why we were talking about it in the last episode. The UK is certainly one of the worst in Europe, but I don't think I can unequivocally say that Scotland is the worst in the world.
But you said Scotland is worst alcohol, has the worst alcohol. Worst alcohol problems? Is that right?
In the 2013 study I looked at in PubMed, I'm pretty sure Scotland had the worst or one of the worst alcohol-related liver disease demographic, I guess. But there's not a lot of recent stuff. But I should actually know a lot more about this, because I'm working in therapies for liver cirrhosis. So maybe in a future podcast, actually, I could maybe persuade one of the professors from my work to come and talk about it. The renowned hepatologists. But no, I mean, there is. I've actually given presentations on this in the past, and I have a graph, and that graph, albeit it ends in 2010, but has this kind of, it's a bit like the COVID charts, has this upward curve of alcohol-related liver disease, and it's got the rest of Western Europe sort of just drifting along the bottom, and then the UK very high, and then Scotland off the charts, right? As a proportion of head of population. So we are renowned for it. I just don't know about the last 10 years. Prior to that, yes.
Okay, that's another fact check then.
Okay, so the next one, to completely digress, and I was trying to think how we actually jumped about from liver cirrhosis to this, was whether you should indeed squat when you take a shit. And it was me, I know by the very nature of that topic, it was me that would have brought that up. And I'd said I'd read somewhere that actually that's the right thing to do. And, anecdotally in the past, I have noticed that when you do lift your legs slightly if you're sitting in the toilet, that it does ease one's passage, shall we just say. So actually I did look it up, right? And
you were
it's
on,
true.
You were
it's
on
true.
the toilet at the time when you tried this, yeah?
Yeah, because, right, see, I've got into too much detail now. But my toilet in this bedroom has the bath right next to it, so you can quite easily kind of lift your legs and rest them on something when you were doing number 2, which I have, as an experiment for this podcast, tried. It's true, right? And it's true because it's, if you think about it, and this is, I think, was the point, it was an evolutionary thing. We have been shitting by squatting for hundreds of thousands of years, and then we invented the toilet a few hundred years ago, and ever since then we've adjusted our position. And the reason you should squat is because wait for it, right? Your relaxus puborectalis muscle, right? It basically helps relax that muscle. It also straightens out your colon because the end of your colon has a bit of a kink. So by lifting your legs, it straightens it out. And those two things lead to two scenarios. It gives the shit an easier exit strategy, and it means you have to strain less to get it to come out. So it's a good thing. So we should all squat, or at least get a little stool and raise your legs as you do shit, and you'll probably end up with, much better.
Well,
squatting.
Oh,
no, and then I've just added another fact check at the end of it.
Well, squatting's how everybody should really sit.
And shit.
Well, I presume it was, whilst you were squatting, sitting, then you could just go for a shit at the same time if you want.
And actually, that's what you see if you watch like documentaries and stuff. If you see like Aborigines do that a lot.
What?
There was.
What?
There's a fact check for next week. Aborigines squat. I'm sure. I've seen documentaries, and they have been doing that squatting a lot.
Squatting's before someone designed the chair, and that could be who designed the chair. Squatting was the how you rested. It's a resting position, but most people struggle with that. I actually do. I do a lot more now with the yoga, and actually,
your shits must just glide out.
But a couple of months back, I was watching Oscar playing football, and
please tell me.
Well, it was because you're not allowed. You're not allowed in the ground, so everyone's kind of spread out miles away, and it was.
And you started squatting at the side of the pitch.
At a bit where you couldn't see above a certain height, so you had to look down. There's kind of bars, and I squatted down. It was fine. Whereas nobody else would do that.
Your dad's a dick.
And see, that's the other thing. Peer pressure. Nobody will squat.
I know, yeah.
But no, telling you. You should try it. I bet you can't squat. Because you're notoriously stiff anyway. So.
Well, I'll let you know, I did some yoga last night, actually. 20 minutes, full body flow with Adrienne. Shout out to Adrienne. Nice. I'm sure she listens.
Yoga with Adrienne, yeah.
So, so that was number 2. So, okay, so we've said that, we have the worst rate of liver cirrhosis and squat when you shit. Next one, Spanish flu.
Yeah.
And obviously the topic of the pandemic, and the question was it 1918? Because I think that was the date we said, and indeed it was. So Spanish flu lasted 2 years, so 1918 to 1919. What was interesting was that the second wave was far more deadly than the first wave. What does that remind you of? There was a total, and you put this in context actually, when you think about the situation with COVID-19 just now, but 500 million people are estimated to have been infected. 500 million people were estimated to have been infected with this at the time, well, well, it's still pretty bad. I'll get there in a minute. At the time, that was around a third of the global population.
Wow.
So it was 1.5 billion that the world population was at that point, and you lost a third. I mean, that's just crazy. A third were infected, but of 10% of that, so 50 million died.
50 million. And how many in COVID so far? 1 million?
I think it's 1.3.
1.3. So apparently the bubonic plague wiped out a third of the population at the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but this is it. I mean, this is the thing. We've just been kind of lucky the last 100 years or so that we've not had. But actually, that's not true. Because if you look at HIV and then look at HIV and AIDS over the course of a 20, 30 year period, I'm pretty sure
50 million or so.
That it'll be there or thereabouts. So actually, fact check for next week then. Number of people that have died of AIDS.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 20 to 50 million's in my head because I was reading that book.
Right. Okay, we'll find that out for next week. So Spanish flu was horrendous. And it's weird, isn't it, that it's almost bang on 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just strange. Anyway. And that's the thing, we're complaining just now. We're complaining just now because we're locked in our houses, yet we can work and we can order takeaways and we can get shopping delivered to our doors and we can communicate over. And you think what people were living through, they'd just come out of the fucking First World War.
Yep.
And then they had that to deal with.
First World War, Spanish flu, the Great Depression, Second World War. It's
crazy. And I was telling it to the kids all the time. I sound like such an old man, but I was saying that to Oliver this weekend about just in general how ungrateful they are for everything. And I was basically saying that, you're so lucky to be born in the time that you were. And I was explaining to him that his papa was working at 14. That, I even used the example. Okay, I did maybe exaggerate this slightly. No, I didn't exaggerate it. It's true, but I made it sound far worse than it is. That I had a paper round at 11, and I did have a paper round at 11, but it wasn't like slave labour. But I was telling him that his great grandmother, was working even younger than that, and then prior to that, kids his age were going up chimneys and down mines, and that was just normality. Yeah, we are so lucky to be born when we are, and when we have the audacity to complain about this situation, you just think, come on. Anyway, so Spanish flu done, and my last one was around back pain and physical jobs, and I think we were making some comment about, and I presume this would have come from you because it was imbecilic, and it was it was about, if you're in a physical job, are you less likely to have back pain? And I guess
I think you'll find it was you that said this, but never mind. We can, go back and check that. Yeah.
Okay. So it was, and I guess the thought process is because you're actually using these muscles more that you're less likely to hurt them.
Yep.
But everything I could find was very much the opposite. But I did tease.
So
out two things.
You're more likely to get bad back if you have a physical job. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think it's based on two things, though. I think it's based on the fact that the most people who tend to present with back pain are doing repetitive type jobs that are putting a lot of strain on those muscles.
Yep.
So, however, it's also down to compliance, as in, are they lifting the right way? Are they actually taking care of themselves and all that sort of stuff?
Yep.
And that's probably a big factor as well. So it was quite hard to have a definitive answer one way or the other. It's probably just I'm sure if you worked every day in a building site, but you spent like your nights like you do doing yoga and stretching, you would never have back pain in your life, But that's not the reality for.
And lifting
most
properly,
workings.
keeping your back straight, not putting undue. Yeah. Because pretty much, because at the moment I've got a bit of a sore shoulder. I've had it for months and months and months. So, but I've been kind of trying to do certain yoga movements to try and get shoulder mobility. And then, but I wonder if I should just stop for a week, and maybe that's the problem, is I'm continuously aggravating it. But it seems, anything I'm reading is, it's kind of like if you have a bad back, don't lie down to a bad back. You're supposed to keep working, because the more you let it weaken, the worse it's going to get, because you're more likely to keep straining it.
I think your shoulder pain is probably related to posture and when you're sitting at your desk all day typing. Because I get that when I sit at my desk for long periods, and it's usually it's
right hand.
You're right-handed, aren't you?
Mouse. Actually, maybe that's a good shout.
It will be, because that's exactly when I get it. I feel it when I sit in certain positions and I'm typing.
Yep.
And it depends on how far my keyboard's away from me and what height my screen is and stuff. And it's always happens that way. But I've actually had like a tennis elbow for ages that's been niggling at me that I've not been able to get rid of, that I think I did when I was doing weights. And it's the same thing that I keep thinking, you Google it and it says rest, but I don't want to rest. And then when I do, it does get a little bit better, and I think, now it's okay, and then suddenly it starts to get sore again, and it's a real pain in the ass.
Get one of those compression kind of bands and just keep doing it, just so it's slightly... I found that works. I had a bit of that before, and I found just using that thing after like a couple of weeks, it'd gone. I didn't need to stop anything.
I'll maybe do that now. If not, I'll just use one of the pair of the wife's tights. Will that work? Probably not. Right, you've got 4 to do, so bash on.
Hang on. Right, wait a minute. Okay, so I had... What was the religion in Japan and China? Typically, was it none? Was it... Now, do you say Taoism, or Taoism?
I think the latter, but I'm not sure.
Or was it Buddhism? So
week.
Actually, what it seems to be is Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism, I'm going to say, plus Shinto in Japan seem to be the main kind of sources of spiritual or religious expression, I guess. but it tends to be a kind of hybridization of all. Because I think Confucianism isn't necessarily classed as a religion, but it's more of a way of thinking, being, doing. But actually, Buddhism seems to be the highest proportionate of all of them. And you still get Islam and Christianity and whatnot, but it's less of that. But Buddhism seems to be the highest, which is interesting because I thought with China it was kind of none. There seems to be a kind of sense, and maybe it's social media talking nonsense, but
like atheism?
Yeah, like
really?
The Chinese state isn't a religion, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So that's what it seems to be. Buddhism seems to be the highest, but it's a concoction of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism in China, and Shinto in Japan, along with Buddhism as well. So there you go.
What is Taoism? What's the is there like
again?
I
think it's quite no. I don't think so. I think it's kind of spiritual, like breathe a lot of breathing, breath, like earth, wind, and fire, that sort of thing. I think you might want to fact check that.
I like Buddhism.
Yeah,
quite into that.
Second one, or the next one for me, was intermittent fasting and sleep combined. Does that give you exponentially more benefit? And does it lead to more or less sleep and vice versa? So the more you intermittent fast and sleep well, does that lead to better improvements across both? So couldn't find anything specific. But
in your 30-second Google search.
Exactly. Wikipedia didn't have that. Now, some studies, it seemed to be more that intermittent fasting actually helps improve sleep. Although if you have a severely restricted calorie intake, actually that can lead to higher cortisol levels in your blood, and which has the opposite effect. So the higher, if you
talked about this, haven't we?
Yeah, if you get too much stress, I guess, too much the stress hormone, you're not going to sleep well. But I think that's if you're severely calorie restricted, so that's not necessarily what intermittent fasting is all about. I'd say that has to be a no-brainer, though. If you do intermittent fasting and get a good night's sleep, that's probably better than doing intermittent fasting and not getting a good night's sleep, or not doing intermittent fasting and getting a good night's sleep. So, anyway, next one was, why were they taking tardigrades to the moon? Can you remember what a tardigrade is?
The little kind of microscopic, horrible little worm thing that's everywhere.
Little water, yeah, they're called water bears, and they're the most indestructible.
Yeah, they look weird.
Indestructible organism on the planet.
It's weird, isn't it, that there's this whole world of like microorganisms that are kind of oblivious to us.
Yeah. Apparently, Bereshit was a robotic lander. It was basically sent up by Israel, and it was carrying human DNA samples and some other digitized pages of information about human society and culture. And apparently they didn't even get the authorities to approve the tardigrades inclusion in this rocket launch. They just did it at the last minute. I guess to put something up there that's likely to live, because apparently what happens is these little things, if they go into space, they just shrivel up, but if you put water on them, 10 years later they'll reanimate. Apparently they can survive pretty much any condition, minus 328 degrees Fahrenheit and more than 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and they survive exposure to radiation, vacuum of space, etc., etc. So that was that, and basically they then crashed. So there's a bunch of tardigrades lying about in the moon, and
we know that there's now water in the moon, don't we? From the announcement this week. So maybe, the tardigrades are taking over. Maybe
in 100 million billion years. Maybe that's how Earth started.
Well, no, they're sending people to the moon in 23 or 24. This is part of NASA's big, and this is to try and build a lunar base with a view to getting some humans to Mars, which I do genuinely hope we'll see in our lifetime. Mars is looking amazing right now, by the way. Mars and the moon were out in all their glory tonight. Mars is probably the closest that's been to Earth for a long, long time, so you should go out and have a look at it. The star that's quite low on the horizon. Well,
the star,
the planet's quite low.
You're supposed to be an astronomer.
Well, people, I know, sorry, but people see stars when they see bright lights in the sky. But the planet is kind of orangey coloured. And Jupiter and Saturn in this part of the world are very obvious as well, actually, and they're always close together. Saturn a lot smaller. That's how you always know. Look up, people. Look up. Anyway, keep going.
We'll need to get Neil deGrasse Tyson on the podcast.
You've got Neil McGowan. Come on.
Right, the last one is, does the depressant effect of alcohol make it harder to breathe? Yes is the answer. Because what it does is it slows down your nervous system.
It's a depressant.
Yeah.
Which by its very nature. It's like, how is that even a fact check? I can't believe I let that one go. Jesus.
It's basically to do with liver not being able to keep up with your alcohol consumption. Builds up, become intoxicated, and then it starts to screw everything up.
God bless the liver, eh? What an amazing organ it is.
God bless it. Right, that was the fact check. Well done.
Bang on time, halfway through. So, yoga, shoot. Let's talk about your journey, right? That's what's interesting to me, is that you're someone...
Well, I have to correct you, because I'm not what you said, I'm now a fully fledged yogi. That's not true.
Yeah, you're not a yogi, but you kind of are, because you're doing yoga every day and you're posting videos of you doing yoga every day. So if that doesn't make you a yogi, I don't know what does, right? Okay, you've only got 4 followers, but the reality is, okay, 6. So
6 more than this podcast.
So that's very true, yeah. So I think I think the best thing to do would be, why don't you take us through your journey of someone who, and I'll be brutally honest, never in a million years, a matter of years ago, would I have thought that you would ever have been into something like this. And then not only to embrace it, but actually to become a huge part of your life.
So, well, I think I've explained this before. I burst a disc in my back 7 years ago, give or take, and have always then since had kind of, I guess, intermittently problems with my back that I've tried to sort with going to osteopaths, doing physio, all that stuff. And so then I decided that, so on and off I'd started doing yoga in amongst like doing weights and stuff, going to the gym. And it was quite good. I would try and stretch off, warm up and stretch off using yoga when I was doing weights, and that seemed to be fine. That seemed to be pretty good. And then I guess with Theo coming along 2 years ago, that paid to go to the gym. Just no time to go to the gym, and so yoga is something you could do anywhere. You've got any type of small space you can do yoga, and so I figured if I keep that up, then, you know, flexibility is good. It's strength, conditioning, everything you read about people that do yoga or doing yoga has positive mental and physical benefits. So why not? Started doing it on YouTube. Followed folk like Sean Veig Fitness, Yoga with Adrian, Boho Beautiful Life, a couple others. And actually following along to the yoga videos was as good as I felt it was as good as going to a class. And you could do it in the garden if it's nice, do it in the house, doesn't matter. And so I just got into this way, and then I thought, why don't I just try and do this every single day? Because, you know, you should really try and do some form of physical exercise every day. And that was a kind of way of doing it. And then I started posting about it to try and keep me doing it every single day, because there's so many times, you know what it's like, it's so easy to not do it and just say, hey, what's one day? But by doing this, by keeping this kind of thing going, I want to do it every single day. And I think at least I want to do it for at least a year, and then we'll see. I might change that, or I might just keep going. And I didn't put, like, as I said, sometimes I'd do 5 minutes, not putting any particular pressure, or not putting a ridiculous amount of pressure on myself to make sure I do it. And so that's what I've been doing. And actually, it's amazing how I'm starting to get more attuned to the imbalances of my body, like because of my back, it kind of manifests on the right hand side. My right leg is so I'm right-footed, right-legged, but my right leg is probably weaker now than my left because I've been compensating, but it's a lot more flexible. So I can stretch off my right side far easier, my right leg far easier than my left leg. And you can see that if you look, I think I even posted something recently where I kind of like doing a stretch with kind of a yoga band, and I can get my right leg far higher and straighter than my left. So I need to kind of, it's making me think, right, I need to concentrate a lot more on my left to correct for that. Mm-hmm. And equally with my right shoulder, because I think I'm right-handed, I need to be balancing that out the other way, because I can do the prayer move, but my hands behind my back. which actually seems
Right.
surprisingly difficult for me, but I can do that. But if I was to try and get clasp my hands behind my back, I can do it easier with like my left going down my back and my right coming up the back, but it's harder doing it the other way around. So anyway, so doing this yoga, it's getting me more in tune with where I need to work on. Whereas if I was doing anything else, like just running or whatever, it's kind of more difficult, I think.
So you feel then that yoga is actually making you more in tune with your body?
Yeah, is that all I just said?
You feel... I wasn't listening. you lost me at yoga.
But yeah, 100%. And so that can only be a good thing. And I think, like I've said, I struggle to just do meditation, or I don't feel the urge or need to do meditation on its own. But because I think I'm trying to do proper yoga breathing. Which is kind of like meditating, I guess. Like, so you're maybe doing some moves and stuff, but I'll quite often end with shavasana, the corpse pose, lying down, and just breathing,
love that.
Or I'll just sit and do Wim Hof breathing, which I find that is particularly good. And you know what? Sometimes you're feeling dead flexible, you can do half an hour and it feels really good. Other times you're doing 10 minutes, you feel you can't stretch properly, you're not interested. Pretty much all yogis, when you're following it along. So, the other interesting thing actually is I've found that I don't follow along. I've not followed along to a YouTube video for months, because I'm now at a point where I know most of certainly the core moves or poses.
You can do it just off
so I can do it off my
own
own back, and I'm trying to improve myself on those things, which also means you can be a bit more flexible, I guess, when you're doing anything. But I think most when you're listening in, most folk are saying that don't worry about where you are. Sometimes you will be able to fully stretch something. Sometimes you'll not. Don't worry about it. It's where you're supposed to be in that day.
That's where. So obviously I'm way behind you, but I have got quite into it. I would say probably on average I maybe do 1 to 2 times a week, and I often think that I should do more because I do really enjoy it. And I think for me, what I do find funny though is that when you do yoga with Adrienne, she'll be doing the stretch and then she'll say, now, like exactly as you've just said, it's okay because maybe you're here or maybe you're here. And I'm going,
I'm nowhere near.
No, I'm further back than that. And actually it does, and even just that, in the short time I've been doing it, I have noticed a big difference in just general kind of flexibility compared to where I was at the start. And the biggest surprise to me, because I still I talk to people at work about it, and they do exactly what I probably did to you at the beginning, is they poo-poo it instantly. Oh, it's not a workout, it's not this. And I'm sitting going, you've no idea. Like that, when I did it last night, we were doing a lot of planks and kind of doing, a plank with one hand and turning around and stretching one. And, I was fucking exhausted by the end of it. But I would say the thing I struggle with the most, which is quite ironic because as someone who meditates on a regular basis, which you don't do, is that I really struggle with the breathing.
Right.
I actually tend to
hold your breath,
forget to breathe, or I have to think about it too much. Yeah, hold my breath or think about it when she's saying like inhale here, then exhale for that. And and I'm doing it the wrong way around, and I kind of get quite stressed out by I'm not breathing. I should be breathing. I'm not breathing properly.
Yep.
And I find it quite hard to do that naturally. But yeah, actually I'm really quite good at using breath to relax me when I'm in the meditation zone. So it's weird because you're someone who's really into yoga, but you struggle with meditation. And I'm someone that's really into meditation, but I struggle with some aspects of yoga. And the two things are meant to be so aligned. It's bizarre.
I don't think I don't struggle so much with meditation, and more that I don't feel the need to do it very often. Like sometimes, occasionally I have done, and it does undoubtedly make you feel better. So if you're feeling particularly stressed about something, and you just sit and concentrate on your breathing for a short period of time, I find that you can feel an immediate benefit, I think. But I don't do that a lot often. Maybe I don't feel the need because I'm sort of doing yoga. So but the breath, I think the breath is consistency. I think just getting used to it and then doing it over time, you'll then start to get into.
Yeah, no, but definitely, I do like it. I do find it, and I love the fact as well as you said that you can just go on YouTube and download the video, and you can do all this. And actually, I found that whole concept, that in terms of the lockdown and the amount of people that must be exercising in their house and utilising YouTube for workout videos. Me and Lynn were talking about that recently, and sort of saying, like, if you do get back to... So I took Oliver, for example, to gymnastics the other night, right? And so it's at Ravenscraig, which for people who don't know is a big kind of indoor-outdoor sports facility in Lanarkshire. So you're walking in and you're putting the masks on as you're about to go in. And as I just glanced to the right as I went in, and the gym's open, right? And there's quite a lot of people in there. And, they're all in there working. And they're obviously like, because the only people who probably are religiously going to gyms just now are the ones that are really fanatical about it. But no one's got masks on. And they're all in that environment, and they're working out and sweating and exhaling. I just thought, it's just so mad. And it's so mad
it was,
when...
mandatory, no? Just like a supermarket, no?
No, well, whether it was or not, it certainly wasn't being practised in there. But I guess the point is that actually, and I appreciate a lot of people won't have the space and all that sort of stuff, but actually just having a pair of dumbbells and working with a pair of dumbbells in the house and following a YouTube video for that is so easy, and it's free. It costs nothing. So where's the incentive to go and pay for all this? And I thought it was interesting when Apple, when they launched the iPhone 12 or whatever last week or week before, were like, we're going to introduce this app. I can't remember what it's called, but Apple One or something, and it's like a service that's in tune with your Apple Watch that you pay a subscription for every month, and it's like they'll do workouts and all that sort of stuff, and
like
and charge you for it
along on your watch, like
so that you'll pay the subscription and you'll get workouts, and the workouts will be like for anything that you usually, whether you're doing like spinning or just some aerobics, or you're doing yoga and all that sort of stuff, but then it's kind of wireless are going to connect your watch, and you're going to have like stuff that comes up, so it's kind of tailored to you, which I guess is maybe the gimmick. But I just found it strange just now that actually, when everyone's going through tough times, when the economy's tanked, like why would you introduce something that actually people will have to pay money for? You'd actually, when there's such good competition out there that's free, why would you not just make something like that free and then dominate the market? I just found that quite a bizarre. And that's a bit of a tangent.
It'll be interesting to see, because
quite strange.
Yeah, the subscription thing though is the thing is totally taken off. I'm thinking that's Apple's strategy, because apparently they're bringing out cheaper phones. Their strategies now, so they're going to start to bring out more basic handsets, and they're going to trying to get everybody in their ecosystem, so that anything you buy, like Apple TV, these kind of apps. Everything will be some form of subscription, and it'll be relatively cheap on a monthly basis, but over gazillions of people and all the different apps you get, suddenly it adds up.
Yeah, you're right, because in the early days everyone used to make the jump, and now people are smart to it, and actually, like, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm probably going to upgrade fairly soon, but the whole concept of people go into these religious kind of 2-year contracts for mobiles, and then suddenly jump to the latest phone and then change. It doesn't happen anymore. Everyone tends to, or certainly that I know, then go SIM only for a period of time. And actually, the next phone I get, I'll buy from Apple rather than actually buying via a network, and Apple are wise to that as well, because they're now offering phones that you could pay up interest free.
Yeah, and see the
over
problem.
2
right,
years.
So I did that. So I'm now. This is now 3 years old. So I'm going to upgrade it, I think, soon. But I did that 2 years pay up interest free thing, and then after a year, you can upgrade, or you can get a new phone.
With Apple.
But what they don't tell you is you can't. So I went in to just go, I want an iPhone 8 Plus again, please. And they said, no, you can't do that. You need to upgrade to a 10. And also, sorry, that costs you an extra tenner a month if you do that. I'm like, well, what? So I didn't bother. I went SIM only. Or no, I was SIM only anyway, but I just got a new SIM kind of deal that was cheaper again, so I kept the phone.
They've also recognised, I mean, obviously you use video and all that sort of stuff a lot, so you quite like a large screen, but I've actually found I've had an iPhone 8 for a while and I actually think the screen's too big. And now they're introducing the iPhone 12 mini, which is actually smaller than this, but the screen's larger because obviously the screen covers the whole, but it's actually a smaller phone. So if I go for a 12, I'm going to get the smaller one, because I've often found, and I have issues with my hands anyway, but I've always found
your
that
hands
actually
are
since
tiny.
I jumped, My hands are tight. No, it's more, it's carpal tunnel and all that. But it's texting. It's like texting with a thumb. The minute I jumped from an iPhone, whatever it was, 5 or 4S, whatever, to when the screen's got that slightly bit bigger, I couldn't text with my thumb one-handed anymore. I couldn't. So I want to go down a size. But anyway, we're completely off topic. Really,
well, see, one thing I think was interesting about my yoga journey is, so it's obviously you're stretching a lot. Like, most of it is doing stretch. So it's strength and stuff as well. Interestingly, actually, Shona hurt her back and went to an osteopath, same osteopath I've been to. And he actually said to her, because she was saying, hey, because I went to him when I screwed my back up. And he actually suggested to her, yoga is not great. Pilates is better. Yoga is a bit too extreme. Obviously, an osteopath.
Whereas my chiropractor said I should do
exactly,
yoga.
yeah.
It's like
hack medicine. What I found is actually I used to just, I didn't like doing twist stretches. And Sean Veig Fitness, always going, I love doing twist stretch. I actually see after doing it twist stretches are great, and I think it's probably because I never did it. So whenever I did it, it was uncomfortable. Yeah. And so that's why I didn't like it. But now I'm I've got more mobility there. It's actually feels really good to get a real twist and stretch. I think you can only do that if you're consistent with it.
Yeah, it's just about practice and stuff, isn't it? I guess it's funny you say that about the osteopath, because actually, like we've talked about the chiropractor before, and I always go to the chiropractor for my back. And the last time I went, they told me that I was so fucking stiff that I should try yoga. So I started doing that, and I told him that the last time I went, because I hadn't gone for one over the whole lockdown. And he said my back was a bit better. But whenever I go to the chiropractor and they do the corrections, as they call it, and they'll do like the various points down your spine, and then they always do your head as well. And then I watched this video like a day after, and it was on Twitter, and it was basically sort of cardiologists or sort of doctors that deal with cerebral events and all the rest. It said the number of people they have had like kind of stroke victims, or that have had kind of cerebral events as a result of poor chiropractors doing those adjustments in the neck.
Adjustment thing, I can't see how is that really a good.
Well, that's what I mean, because suddenly then I watched that and I thought, actually, yeah, that is.
But think about see when they do that, right? Is that not like the equivalent of like a car crash? Like what happens in whiplash and all that? You got to be like your nerves and all that. It's all connected.
I think that's the thing. You have to know exactly what you're doing, but it'd be so easy just to make a slight error. And then there's people on the feed saying things like, I go to the chiropractor, but I never let him touch my neck. And I'm going, shit. So actually, I want to check that. Maybe we should check that for next time. Is that a genuine risk, or is this just down to bad practice by poorly trained chiropractors? But we slate chiropractors and osteopaths on this quite a lot. We really have to get one on.
Is chiropractor not more kind of neck and spine, whereas osteopaths more back?
Yeah, it's all spine. Yeah, osteopaths more, I want to see you naked, whereas chiropractors much more about, no, it's
wanting
fine, I can
to
just
kill
work
you.
with clothes on. Yeah, I just want to break your neck. So, but yeah, no, it did make me think. Actually, I thought, God, that's actually pretty stupid. Although when he does it, it always feels a bit better.
Yeah. Well, I think see that's right that I got so right. So the psoas muscle home massage tool, it's basically just a bit of solid plastic designed and sort of, but it's brilliant because it gets right in amongst, because you're lying on your back and it just gets right in amongst.
Oh, is that thing you made me do, which is like, it's like you're lying on like a rock? That's what they used to do when they actually were about to sort of, I was going to say crucify, certainly not crucify people. They were going to when they did they would hang you and they would draw you and quarter you and stuff like that. They did. That's what they did in sort of.
They used it so right.
Sort of 16th, 17th century to actually, when they did like public executions. One of the things they would do is get like a rock and they would put the rock down. And then they would basically kind of lie the person on the rocks, and then they would gradually put more and more weight onto them, so the rock would gradually kind of force its way into their spines and stuff. So so that's what you're doing. It's great.
So it's almost exactly like that, yeah. But no, because the osteopath used to not do, he didn't really seem to do much, and I would always go, well, he's just slightly,
got you naked,
pressing around my spine, and I feel a lot better, and I can move about. So it's obviously just releasing. Your muscles are obviously just tensing up.
Tension.
You're just releasing. That's
But that's
exactly
the
what that
same with,
so right does. It gets right in amongst, just releases all the muscles, and that's it.
Well, but think how good you feel after a massage.
Totally.
It's exactly the same type of thing, isn't it? It's just kind of helping you all to relax and just kind of it's stretching your individual muscles, I guess. But with chiropractors, it's all about kind of like with posture, with driving, with everything. Your spine will gradually kind of naturally go out of alignment, and all they do when they call it corrections is try to put it back into alignment, so over a long period of time it stops misbehaving, if you see what I mean. Because the minute it misaligns, it puts pressure on various nerves, and then that can cause it to fire strangely and give you back pain and muscle pain and all the rest of it. And that might all be a lot of bullshit, but it seems to work.
It's a fact check. You should get a chiropractor.
It's a fact check. Well, I think probably if they'd have listened to what we said about it, they might not want to come on. But and I'm a complete hypocrite because I can't criticise them because I go to one. But I definitely am now. I might ask them that next time I go about the about the
yeah. Well, he's I don't think he's good. Yeah, actually, Neil. Sometimes I fear I might kill you, but it's worth it.
Actually, do you know this is an important subject. Is like during the pandemic. And I believe we're going to have time to talk about meditation, so we'll leave that for another episode. We'll finish off on yoga. But I think going for appointments, like the normal stuff you would do pre-pandemic, and then during the pandemic when things have slightly started to open up and you've gone back to these various things, whether it's your chiropractor or your dentist or your hairdresser and all the rest of it. So I went to the dentist recently, right? And my dentist hadn't been open for months, and I pay private for my dentist, right? And so I think that's why I managed to. It's funny because people at work were going, "How did you get a dentist appointment?" I went, "Oh, because I go private." And they went, "What, the whole family?" And I'm like, "No, just me." I said, "My teeth are much more important than theirs." But when I went, it was like so regimental. As someone who's working all the time in work and working for the health service, compared to what we were doing at work, compared to what they did as someone who just opened up, seemed completely OTT. But I get that. So I pitched up with my mask on, and I went to open the door's locked. So I knock the door, and then they come and open the door. And it's all glass, so they know I'm there, right? But they open the door and let me in, and then they say, "Sit over there." So I was sitting in the corner, I'm miles away from everyone else. And then it's like they then take me up the staircase, and it's a one-way system. So actually when I left later on, I went out the fire exit, which was even stranger, but I went all the way up to the appointment. And when I went in, they're all like wearing full PPE, and it was just the hygienist, and she says to me, "So we're not allowed to do any kind of like polishing or that sort of stuff because we're not allowed to use aerosol generating procedures." And I went, "All right, okay." And it literally was like she went round my teeth and went, "Everything looks okay, tiny bit of scraping. No, wait for it." And then got like the little autoclave pouch and took out what was like, you know, the Oral-B electric toothbrush head. So they obviously had autoclave, and then took that out, put toothpaste on it, and then just brushed my teeth. And I kind of went, "I did that 20 minutes ago before I came here. What am I paying for?" So it's weird, you know, going back to these kind of, or getting your hair cut with a mask on. It's strange times.
Yeah.
But I did think that was a bizarre experience, you know. I always try to justify my £17 a month, but I'm like, God.
So are you going to do more yoga? That's the question.
Yep, no, definitely. And I think that I'm going to try and do it a bit more on a regular basis.
Well, just talking about like going to chiropractors or osteopaths, whatever. Actually, prevention is definitely the answer. Yeah. And doing what I find is, I say to the boys, you need to start doing this sort of stuff because it will benefit you so much when you're getting older.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, when you're that age, you don't even think about it.
But they're stiff. They're stiff. Like Oliver obviously does like gymnastics, so he's like super flexible. But the boys doing football, they're stiff. Like they're fit and all that.
Because they're putting a lot of strain.
And I'm like, you see, you need to do this because it'll be.
If only there was a YouTube video of someone they knew well that they could follow. So no, that's my challenge, to try and do a bit more yoga, and I'm giving you a challenge for the end of the podcast because we are almost at an hour. I'm determined to stick to an hour tonight. Not only because my wife's ready to rip my head off because she wants to go to bed, but I want you to do a video of your yoga as a teaching exercise. So rather than just posting it on Instagram of you doing the yoga, I want you to actually do a yoga video as an instructor, yogi-led type session. There's my challenge to you.
For who? For you?
No, for YouTube, for anything. Just I want you to put it online. I want you to do a session, because what you do just now, correct me if I'm wrong, is you just actually post your workouts, but you speed them up. So actually, I think you've done that for so long. Why not try and do that in a way that someone actually like me might benefit, and I might actually watch your video and try to copy it. There's my challenge to you.
I'll try that.
I'll be your one viewer.
I don't have a challenge for you, so that's bad. What can I challenge you to do?
Do more yoga, that is my challenge.
Okay, till the next podcast, which who knows, could be months, every day.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That might incentivise you to do another podcast quickly.
What about every second day?
Every day.
Every second day.
Okay, for the next 2 weeks, every day. Every single day. And remember, 5 minutes.
5, right, okay.
But every day.
Deal, right. And I think we have to make a commitment as well, because our listeners are crying out for this, to do a podcast at least once a month.
Yeah, definitely.
That's definitely feasible.
Definitely. And I'll try and do more.
So have we get any nice quotes to leave our podcast on tonight? Because we normally like to have a little quote at the end. Or come on, give us some wise words, Yogi Preston.
Geez, you put me on the spot now.
Oh wait a minute, I've got one that actually someone sent me today. It's quite good, but it's a bit somber.
Well, let's end on a high, for God's sake.
It's about grief. I will read it. We normally just say, "Be safe, be kind."
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. Who said that? It's Batman.
Here's one for you. You're replaceable at work, but you're irreplaceable at home. Keep that in perspective.
Nice.
Unless you're working from home, and then you're fucked. Right, okay, good to be back.
Yes, let's try and do this again. So we do need to get some guests in. So why don't you ask your liver guy if he's interested in coming along?
Stuart, yeah, maybe I should actually. Yeah, he'd probably think I'm crazy, but yeah, no, I should do that.
The other one is a guy, and we're way over there, but there's a guy that does checking on like pseudoscientists online, like trying to dispel the quacks from the actual folk that talk about actual science. They don't just try and fuel their own biases. He'd be quite good to get on. Right.
Well, we need to look at that. Let's look at potential guests, because people are getting bored of us, and I don't blame them, particularly you. Yeah, we'll do that. So look, let's wrap it up. It's good to be back. We'll hope to speak again soon. Be safe, be kind, and speak
Definitely.
soon.
And the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Word. Right, good. We'll catch you later. Thanks for that, Neil. See you later, listeners. Catch you later.
Cheers, Keith. See you later.